So IDE stands for Interactive Development Environment, and text editor stands for text editor. And essentially the programs you use to make other programs, right? The stuff you type your code into. So what's the difference? So IDE, so in very, very simple terms, IDE is the stuff with all the bells and whistles, and text editor is the more minimalist stuff. Now, that's how it used to be. Now, in these days, those two categories are kind of merging. Even most text editors have a lot of bells and whistles to them, a lot of features, a lot of stuff that can be comparable to most interactive development environments. But that also depends. So let's talk about a couple of things that you're going to want to look at as I introduce the first one that I recommend. I'm going to recommend 3 IDEs or text editors that are designed for any programming language you might want to start with. There are some IDEs or text editors, I think typically IDEs, that are designed only for one language and doesn't work with another language, or is harder to make work with other languages. So if your focus is that language, you might want to consider that IDE, but other than that, you really should look at something that's more general. And I'll get back to this when we talk about languages later on. So Sublime Text is the first one that I recommend. It looks like this. Or more specifically, it looks like this when it's got a bunch of code in it. And you notice a couple of things. Number one, it's a black background. And number two, the text is in all kind of colors, right? So being able to theme and color scheme your text editor is very important. I heartily recommend a dark background, because you're looking at the screen for many, many hours of the day. You're reading more than you're writing, and you're going to be reading a lot, right? And it's not good for your eyes if it's too bright. And the same reason with the coloring. Our eyes are designed to see color, unless you're colorblind, and colors make the things much, much easier to read, and that's super, super important, because again, you'll be reading a lot. So the number one thing you're looking for is an IDE or text editor. In this case, this is a text editor that has the ability to change color scheme or theme. So for instance, for this one, I'm currently using the Cyanid Alert Sublime theme, but I've downloaded other themes, and I can easily kind of move up, and you see the theme changing. This is Programmer, and then we got Afterglow, and the theme is not the color of the text or the background, but as you can see, the things that change in other ways. Let's see here if we can get to a brighter one. Adaptive Sublime Default, that's bright, and immediately that shock of brightness really sucks. Is it possible to return to where we were? No. This is the one I had, right? Boom. So that's how easy it is in Sublime. That's themes, and of course there's color schemes. So with color schemes, you'll notice now I changed the color of the text. Let's see if we get something more interesting. I downloaded a whole package of Cyanid for some reason. Chromodynamics, Afterglow. You get these. So a couple of color schemes are like solarized, or they're made for. They're kind of this. They have this contrast effect. You notice that it's kind of washed out. That's, again, it's to make the color more comfortable for your eyes to read. Some people like that. Personally, I don't. I like high contrast colors, so it's easy to read. I use a dark background anyway, so I don't need things to be too kind of washed out. Here we got the Programmer again, and we're back into Cyanid. Don't quite remember which one I used. This one. So that's that. Furthermore, for Sublime, you notice I've got kind of 3 sections open. On the left here, I've got an overview of the folder and all the files in this video game that I'm making. And over here you have this, on the right side, you have this kind of mini map, which I like a lot, which allows you to kind of skate back and forth. And there's also, and in the middle is where we type our code. Now there's some features that are specific to Sublime, like this. I now highlighted the term self, which is very common if you're using Python. And you noticed it now boxed around all the other instances of self on the screen. So if I use Control D, I can select them. I can select all of them, and if I don't want to use self anymore, and just the whole file if I want to. And now I have multiple cursors, so I can remove all the cells at the same time and add, for instance, S. And that's very, very helpful when you're programming, because many times you're looking at variable names that are very similar or the same, and if you want to change the name of a variable, that variable might be used many other times in the file. And if you don't know what a variable is, you know, we'll get to that. But that's just one of the features that Sublime has, and the kind of features that you're looking for. Another thing you're looking for is the ability to run your own code. Now, some text editors, most IDEs can, but some text editors can't. And that's not good, because, you know, if I type something very simple like a hello world, which is kind of the simplest thing you can do, this is in Python again, and I've run that, as you can tell down here, it says hello world. That's all the program did. But I want to be able to do that in here. I don't want to have to go into terminal or the command line and kind of use the command line to run it. Now, if I'm using a bigger program, I want to use it through the command line because it has some features that I want. But when I'm making simple things, I really want to be able to just run it quickly without leaving the program. So, you know, those are the three things that you need to look for when choosing an IDE. You want a dark background, the ability to theme your background. You want colors, and you want the ability to run your own code with an interpreter or compiler, depending on the language. So let's look at another one. Atom. Atom has the same features as Sublime. It looks very much like Sublime, and the Control D thing, Atom does that as well. Sublime did it first, and Atom took it. So what's the difference? Sublime is not free. It costs at the moment $70, I think, or is it $80? But you can use it forever, kind of with an occasional nag screen, and that's okay. But of course, you should pay for it. But Atom is free. It's open source. That being said, you know, if a company takes somebody's work, like the dude who made Sublime, who's not a big company, it's just a guy, and then makes essentially his program open source, and then that takes away the money he earns. Is that cool? I don't know, but what, you know, so that's you know, I don't know if that's fair, because people fork things all the time, and that's how the program world works. We build on each other's previous work, and from what I understand, Atom did not steal any code. They just copied his ideas, which, you know, it's at best it's a gray zone. It connects with GitHub directly. Now, right now, so does Sublime, and so does most other modern IDEs. But originally, Atom was the one to do it. So there's features and stuff in there that connects to the GitHub. Now, if you don't know what GitHub is where you store your code in very simple terms. It's a place you store your code online in the cloud, and you can get a private storage, but most storage is open. So it's open source, so you can present your code to other people, and you can browse GitHub to look at the codes of other people and connect your account to other people's accounts. So it's essentially become like Facebook for programmers. Now, if you're looking for a job, GitHub is an important part of your portfolio. Your GitHub, that's why you want code there. And apart from that, it's also great to have cloud storage in case your computer crashes or falls in the water, or your dog attacks it or something. You know, you don't want to lose 80 hours of work. So that's why absolutely most people that program end their programming session with what's called a GitHub push. So they kind of upload. So they have it there in case. Atom has memory issues. I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I experience it, and that's the reason why I don't use Atom. The biggest reason. It's that if you leave the Atom window open, you go get something to eat, you come back, you're waiting 30 seconds for something to happen. I don't know why. Maybe they fixed it now. That's just my experience, and I've heard other people have that experience as well. Not a good day. So Atom looks like, let's do that as well. Let me just quickly show you kind of what Atom looks like. I'll open another version here. So I'm using Linux, so things might be Statistically speaking, you're using Windows, so things might be a bit different here, but I believe I included some pictures there, picture and images. So let's look at the example picture for Atom. Like that. So yeah, so this is what Atom looks like. You don't see the whole thing here. It's just actually just. So this is an example of what Atom looks like, and this can go away. It's very similar to Sublime in many ways. Moving on to the next one. Woo! No, that's Eclipse. That's different. So this one, right? Yeah, VS Code looks like that. Also very similar. Can also be themed to darken colors. I don't have it installed here, but this is what it looks like. And VS Code. So VS Code is part of the .NET framework. It is built and maintained by Microsoft. Now, statistically speaking, you're using Windows. I'm not. I'm using Linux. I'm kind of like an anti-Microsoft guy, like most Linux users. But VS Code is an excellent text editor. It connects to the .NET framework, as I said, which is geared towards using the programming language called C#. So if you're using C#, if that's what you want to work with, you should absolutely go with VS Code, assuming you're on Windows. Now, VS Code also works on Linux now. I'm not saying it doesn't. So if you're using C# and you want to use Windows for some reason, VS Code is your thing. But VS Code is not limited to C#. It works for all programming languages and is a totally competent, viable editor. Just remember, it's maintained by Microsoft. So if you're cool with that, moving on. So next is programming. I just want to talk quickly about another language. Where the hell? Here, right? Yeah. So I just want to talk quickly about another one called Eclipse. Eclipse is one of the big ones. It's an IDE. Got plenty of features. I don't have it installed, so this is just an image. And I'm not sure, and I believe you can theme it dark as well. I believe I did that when I worked with Java. So Eclipse is the Java editor. It is possible to use Eclipse with other languages by installing external modules, but not out of the box. Eclipse is meant for Java. That being said, if you're a Java guy and you want to work with Java, you should absolutely think about using Eclipse. Another one I want to talk about is this one. Yeah, this one, right? No, wait. Right. So I made a mistake. This is what VS Code looks like. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So you notice on the side, it's got that exact same little mini map. And here it's got the folder structure, so it's very, very similar to Sublime, which is very similar to Atom. So it's kind of within that field. This is PyCharm, very different. This one is if you want to work with Python. Again, I work a lot with Python, but I prefer Sublime. But PyCharm is one designed for Python, and it's absolutely a viable choice. I think especially if you want to work with computing science, from what I understand, which Python has a lot of libraries for.